recording.
Hello, hello. Welcome to Human Design Coffee Talk.
Welcome back.
Today we have Alokanand Diaz joining us. Alok is a 1-3 emotional manifester. Thanks for joining us.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me back.
For those of you who are watching on YouTube, we are going to pull up Alok's chart, and here it is.
There I am.
There
In
you
all of your
are.
glory.
If we did an Human Design Coffee Talk with Alok a couple years ago, and I recently re-listened to it, and I just had to giggle at the amount of giggles that Teresa and I had. We were like giddy little schoolgirls.
I
If
think
you,
we still kind of are, though.
I know if you listen to it, we're just like giggling the first 15 minutes of it. So thank you for coming back and sharing your wisdom with everybody.
My best.
Yeah.
Yeah, so right before we started recording, we were talking about just the perception of human design on social media, and you were telling us your opinion about that, just how
The
what you see in the
absolutes.
space and the absolutes of
Let
like,
me correct you,
yeah,
Teresa.
please do. I'm having trouble now. Like, how did you phrase it?
If
I don't
you if
know.
if you look into my design, you can see I have no opinions.
Yes.
Okay. So I was basically sharing my feeling with you, which is, half of the time I'm annoyed, and the other half, I'm just happy that I don't have to say anything in public about my annoyance because I sort of understand that it goes this way. It is something that I know set into Ra's spirit deeply because it was one of the conversations, the last conversations we had one-on-one before he passed away, was so much about that. And, talking about my wisdom, in my wisdom, I came to recognize if you look at my identity, you could almost say that the not self is my identity. I mean,
Mm.
really, it is. And it has to be because there cannot be someone on this planet that I don't see their helplessness and incompetence. Because if I don't, I would blame them for all the shit that exists on this plane. I would find some Trump or some Biden or some Putin or someone that is to be blamed for things not being as good as they could be. Helplessness and incompetence. All I see is the extremes of being human, and oh, I have my own extremes. And in my extremes, well, let's say I'm not very professional. you know,
What is
or
professional, anyways?
or very civilized or
Mhm.
designed to care for any sort of formality. So I'm the first person you would want to eliminate from this planet. If things were supposed to be ideal, kind of like everyone getting along with everyone, that's not me. That's just not me. I don't go along unless I go along. And if I go along or not, see, if it was a choice of mine, of course I would go along. Of course I would go along and never struggle with anyone. I don't know why I struggled with everyone ever since I was born. It's unconscious. I was just writing about it in some work that I do, the unconscious and the absolute of the form of human design. When you find these things, you question that. You question that. You think about choices. You think about my personality. You put my personality there, just in black. And you see what a joke it is to be me, to be born in this vehicle, where until I was 30, I did not realize that, hell, My best friends, they struggle with me to extents that they never struggle with amongst themselves or with others. Why do they do that with me? How do I make them want to do that with me? Why? Because if you look at my personality, I'm a 3740. I'm just trying to come of like, let's be all part of the same one, right?
Mm-hmm.
No, but that's not what happens. And and all that pressure that I carry along with me. I remember in my late 20s when I was in Pune around my Saturn return, many people at that time, because you would meet many people, it's like they would tell me, oh God, you're so intense. And I would go like, what do you mean I'm so intense? Do you know what I mean? Because it was not like if you look at my personality, there is no defined pressure. There is no defined head center.
Mm-hmm.
I did not have a conscious perception of how intense I am. I did not have a conscious perception of the impact I have on others. And I did not know that if they have open pressure centers, that the moment they're in my aura, they're under pressure. I did not know that. Everyone, I think of, my mother, she had both pressure centers open. My father didn't. So he really knew how to stop me with his own route. It's just, it's pure. It's pure anatomy. It's mechanic. This is not metaphysical. Our mindfuck is metaphysical. But human design is about the absolute of the form. It is astonishing to which extent it explains not just me having the not self as my identity. The thing is that, I love people's not self more than they do. And when I address the frustration of a generator, for me, it's okay. For them, it's offensive. So they become defensive about something that for me is human, but why not speak about it? As I feel that that's what really matters. Yeah, well, no, only if it's paid. It's funny, when people pay me for a reading, I go, rock. They say thank you. If I just do it for free, nobody's happy. If I just share my feeling, and my understanding, it doesn't matter. There's this resistance of people towards acknowledging that, yes, they have a shadow. Not only do they have a shadow, they're prisoners. They're prisoners of their shadow. Well, I used to be a prisoner of mine, I know. I mean, part of my living alone is that I know how easy it is for our shadow to be triggered. Look at my design, I'm easily triggered. I mean, the only way in which I'm not triggered is if I'm alone. Because if I'm alone, the only bullshit I have to deal with is my own. And I'm really used to that.
Mm.
You know?
What happens when you get triggered?
Well, my patience gets tested. I mean, it's both. I can get triggered in a good way, interested, stimulated, But you see, I'm fast moving. I don't like to waste much time with formalities when it comes to love and truth. I like to be very direct. And yeah, well, most people aren't comfortable in just being naked on the inside, disarmed, and of course, yeah. And I used to take that personal that people have resistances, I used to think it's because of something in me. Now I know it isn't. It's just their mentality. It's not their mind. It's their mentality. And it tires me.
Mm.
It tires me to try to share my understanding with someone that's resisting, that doesn't want to understand, doesn't want to share. So I've learned to share, kind of, enjoy it in my aloneness. I write, I create things, but I have no drive to go around and convince anyone of how interesting human design is. Because I already know that, you know, most people I would tell them, that's what they would tell me. Interesting, very interesting. And of course, for me, this is not interesting. It's, it's blown my mind over 30 years ago, and it hasn't come back.
Mm.
It hasn't come back to where it was. Yeah.
What was your mind like before human design?
Oh, all over the place. Basically, well, you can see that there, looking for love and direction without knowing when enough is enough.
Yeah. Mm.
The only place where it was not comfortable was in aloneness, which does not mean that I have always been alone a lot of my time, but I didn't enjoy it. I didn't enjoy it because you can see my personality sun is in an open sacral pointing at a blank G center. So 70% of my thinking is there. It's in what I'm not. It's not in my definition. It's in what I have in common with the rest of human beings, the human condition, the human pattern, the mechanics that drive the extremes of human behavior. Okay, so that's where my mind was at, but it was, I was acting it out. I was acting it out, as if I was a manifesting generator. Now I watch it. I don't act it out. Okay, I just watch. I just watch the frequency of the flow of my consciousness. And in that, I can feel my mood, my determination, my controlled scatteredness. I mean, controlled in the sense that I know how to be on time, like,
Mhm.
okay. But when I don't have a schedule, I'm not a concentrated person. I'm not. And it takes great, not just discipline. I mean, in a way, I need that. It brings me together, sit down and write something about what I know, put it in a written formula, put it in a package that I can then offer it to others without it being too personal, you know?
Mm.
Uh, yeah. Yeah. My mind, my mental pressure was basically, pushing towards the throat. And now I perceive my mental process much more like it goes the other way around. I absorb from the throat and it all goes into my head center. I live up there in my doubts and confusion. In a sense, I live in the realm of no conclusion, no before, no after. There is just the flow, and in the flow, I'm astonished how my mind organizes the flow of consciousness while I do nothing but breathe. I mean, I'm not even doing the breathing. My body is doing the breathing. So, I am the passenger. I am the passenger. My questions, my doubts, my confusion no longer fuel anxiety. They fuel the broadness of my perspective on, there's always a perspective on anything that is not mundane. In other words, appearances are just appearances. What's going on is just what seems to be going on. But I make no conclusive judgment about anything. Like I was saying earlier, I have no opinions. I'm not trying to have one, you know.
Question about when you first were introduced to human design. What did that resistance feel like for you?
Which resistance?
Did you feel resistance when you were introduced to human design?
Well, I had an incredible aha moment.
Mm.
The moment Ra read my design, when I went out of his house, I was no longer the same person.
Mm.
I no longer entered anywhere without knowing about the blankness of my G center. I mean, it was just there. But then I started translating the Black Book, which was the only book existing. And it was kind of nice until I got to the last part where Ra was speaking about the basis. And when I translated the basis, all sense of logic disappeared. And it was like, what the hell is this? So a flood of doubts just came over me. Until that moment, on the next day of my short training, I did my first reading and it was like, wow. I charged the guy the same amount of money that Ra had charged me for my reading. Because I was like, if you are splenic, what does it matter if Ra tells you you're splenic or if I tell you you're splenic?
Mm-hmm.
Because that's what it was about. There was nothing to be interpreted, There was just a predisposition to be explained. Okay. So I was very determined and I was like, wow, this is it. This is, a raw diamond, and it was clear to me that if this was what it seemed to be to me, I didn't need to be in a hurry to go around selling it because people would take it out of my hands. It was like, wow. And then, of course, these doubts started. And so I always had a sense that somewhere the logic breaks. In other words, that this is not all about logic. Okay. And of course, around that time, if you look at my cross, you can see how important understanding is in my design. Well, I was hoping that, logic is consistent to back up at least my sensorial experience. So, but, the doubts were there. And of course, well, you can see they were there from birth. I wasn't just aware of them, right? Because I was still in awe with the awareness and the mystery. But then, the deeper I went in the knowledge, and I went very deep. I did all kinds of courses with Ra for 18 years. He was my exclusive teacher. I was his translator. So there wasn't a course that I didn't do. And every course I did, it was like, aha, wow, look at this, look how deep it goes. And what if not, what if this is just the greatest mindfuck ever, And of course, that went on for many, many years. It's just that I was never asked to believe. And I never asked anyone to believe. And I ever presented anyone, human design to anyone as a believer. So the fact that I could still have doubts about how absolute or relative all of this was, there was no doubt for me about its fundamental logic when it came to the mechanics. So, I did not present it like something that's mine. I presented it as something that is mind-blowing, fascinating, and that was transmitted to me, and that I was still investigating, like you can see is my design to go to the foundation, So what happened is, I reached a point in my own research where I realized that even if it is the greatest mindfuck in the world, if you treat it like an absolute, it still works. It will still take your not self mind to the edge of your own bullshit. I mean, I know. It still takes you to recognize the supremacy of the body over mind, which I knew to be true before human design. I just didn't have a logical explanation for it. But it's something I knew and I know to be true,
Mm-hmm.
that my body, my unconscious is the one that determines in the end what I end up doing, saying, not whatever my personality pretended to say in its attempt to have control over the course of events. So, I passed that point where doubts were in any way, they never stopped me from going deeper into the knowledge. It was just the recognition that, for instance, I was 12 years in human design when Ra took us into the differentiation degree level, what now is called this way, the color, the tone, the base. And I was like, no, because, I already felt like I'm a master of the body graph and the wheel. I know the crosses, and then suddenly going underneath the line was like, where's the logic of this? I mean, I could see the logic of that whole thing, but how did this connect to the surface in a way that I could feel, that I could relate to it in my own? It took me another 7 years of doubt. Because if that was so, then, and that's what was my discovery, it's not that I don't have a choice about who I am and how I'm triggered by people. I don't have a choice about what I think, when I think it, how I think it, if I think it or not. And that was like, what? 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 So I had to chew through all of that to recognize that in the end, he's just describing another mechanic, the mechanic of mind, the mechanic of motivation. What an incredible thing that is. People, oh, motivation. Do you have any idea what motivation is? What it means, even? Nobody ever explained what motivation is beyond our homogenized idea about motivation. And the only motivation humanity has ever known is punishment and prize. We never knew any other motivation. Yes, hope, but nobody knew why you're hopeful or not. And the hope that we related to was not the one in motivation, was the one of the emotional wave. And desire was not a motivation. It was everything was through the emotional wave. We never knew how to look at motivation as a nuance of a personality's style in thinking. We never knew how to look at motivation as the engine of our thinking, the purpose behind the thoughts, the why you think what you think, when you think it, which you do not have any choice about. You know? You don't know why you think what you think, but you could recognize the relationship that thought has to your being through motivation. Because in the end, motivation is a binary. Motivation, only allows you to think in two ways. In a homogenized way that fuels your not self, or in your natural way that aligns you with your signature. There is only those two ways for any of us to think. because we don't think. It's how mind happens to us. It happens in alignment with our being, or it happens in distortion with our being. Because see, mind is helpless in being a medium for the spirit to project its presence out into the world. Not just in what you say and how you say it, but what you think and how you think it, whether you express the thinking or not. You know, this is why most human beings are afraid of being alone with their own mind. Because if they do, they're gonna hear all the monsters that they carry in their spirit. And by monsters, I mean fears and hopes that have not been integrated in the experience of being human. I mean, I know, because see, every time I'm on my own, am I looking at my light or my shadow? See, I'm looking at my darkness in peace. You know, I'm a dark guy. You know, I'm a shadow person. I'm not a divine G that's here to shine its light onto the world and say, look how beautiful it all could be. No, I'm here to say, I know where all this shit comes from.
Mm.
And I know there is nobody to blame, not even me. It's just the human condition. You know, this could be my Prometheus. I am a Promethean personality. So I could be the one preaching, you know, this is what's going to make humanity better. This is what's going to save humanity. You know, follow your strategy. I know that that's not what following your strategy is going to do. Following your strategy is just going to help you embrace your condition as a passenger, as a witness, and not let the state of your spirit depend on what's going on with humanity as a whole. You know, to not be distracted by the collective homogenized movie from the purpose of your incarnation. You know, the purpose of my incarnation is all about investigating the foundation of human consciousness. You know, the thing that makes us all tick the same way. Well, if that is my purpose, I cannot be more satisfied. It can't get any better. I know enough to not, like I said, you know, I can't avoid being annoyed, but I no longer need to act it out and make a fool of myself in doing so. I accept humanity's fate and my privilege in being a passenger of these incredible times that we seem to be moving through collectively, you know, because I am sensitive. It's not that I don't care, but it's not personal. You know, I know who the people are that I personally care for how they're doing, and, you know, the rest, you know, it's the thing with sharing. If you look at my design, sharing is the desire to share is the strongest. But, you know, it's the only circuit group where the ego has no say, which means there's nothing truly personal in sharing.
Mm.
Only then can sharing really be clean, you know. Yeah, well,
Mm.
I seem to be bringing you today to a place of such a deep silence that you have
Which
nowhere else to be.
is rare for us.
Yeah.
We're yappers.
Uh-huh. No, no, I do have a sense that it's not always like that.
Mm-hmm.
That it's not the normal. It's not the normal thing. Um,
We both have completely open heads, and I feel like
We're just
if if you want, we can shift to your designs
mm,
oh,
and see what comes up.
you
yeah.
absolutely. It's interesting to me that you when we talked about before we started recording, putting your chart up and you're like, let's go, let's do it. And we've had other guests on the podcast that are like, ooh, they're going to show everything. And
What's
you,
there to hide?
all right, Teresa. Teresa's up, and it's Teresa's birthday today, June 14th, for anybody who's listening.
So I get the gift of hanging out with Locke. What a cool gift.
See, that's the thing with being a manifester. It's like, why are people so afraid of
Mm.
showing everything?
Yeah.
I mean, isn't that a way of wanting to make things more complex than they are? That the other one has to figure you out instead of you telling them who you are.
Mhm.
Mhm.
So, and that's how we get caught in the projection field. See, this is what informing is.
Mm.
It's about, because I don't want to project and act based on projections, I inform you. Not that, what if my projection is wrong? It's just my projection.
Yeah.
So I ask. I don't just take. Okay. Uh, and especially, it's this fear of being naked on the inside, unarmed on the inside. I mean, I know it's normal, but it's not self. The not self is always armed. It has attitudes, defensive attitudes. That's what the not self strategies are, you know? And it's so exhausting.
Mm.
Is what I'm tired of that stuff. If before I get to talk to your true self, I have to make 3 weeks of therapy and go through endless drama so you can tell me what you want clearly and what you don't. Give me a break. I mean, I want to end the relationship before it starts, you know,
Yeah.
because it's not a relationship, it's a game. All these social channels, it's just so sticky.
Mm.
I Yeah, I guess you do that as long as you have hormonal drive. But
Mhm.
once that is no longer there, it's like, who wants to waste your spirit on this blah, 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 blah? That's not the real you. When silence is so beautiful,
Mm.
you know? Yeah. Well, for instance, this design, this design can be so chatty, and yet without silence, it becomes unbearable how chatty it can be. Not only chatty, without silence, all the poetry that is there, all the spirit. So, who rules in the communication here? The 59.6 and the 11.56? You know?
Mm.
Or, well, all this knowing that is there, you know? And of course, this is not black and white. This is something you learn to tame as you live. I know. I mean, I know it took me 21 years
Mm.
to touch the bottom of my attachment to toxic love and actually see how I was always contributing to, not just contributing, being the engine of it, being literally the engine of it, because I guess the only place I never really looked for love was inside.
Oh.
I just assumed that with this open G, how could I possibly know? Funny, because the way it feels today is like, well, if you don't know with that kind of G, then who's gonna know? Because I know. I know. See, love for me now is no resistance. There is either love or there is resistance.
Mm.
It's one or the other, you know. And I'm not a resistant. You know, if I have resistance towards someone, I'm not going to meet them. I'm only going to meet people that I have no resistance to. So all my love is there from the start.
Mm.
Otherwise, I wouldn't be there. Okay. And then, well, you know, people think that love is this huge thing, you know. For me, it's become the most ordinary thing, whether I'm alone or whether it's someone next to me. It's no resistance. It's just flow, shared flow or alone flow, but flow. Not getting stuck with differences, you know, enjoying differences. Yes, getting stuck. No,
Mhm.
no. Sorry, I brought that back to me.
I love love.
Say,
I love love. So like
well,
hearing your perception of love.
passionately, passionately,
Yeah.
you know, if I love the 38 and the 39. You know, for me, they are the two gates of evil. Okay. But they are also the two gates that assure that nobody can take truth for granted or love for granted. In other words, they're designed to destroy or question or challenge anybody's preconception about truth or love. You know, and of course, they're designed to disappoint and challenge those who would want to love you, and you don't let them, you know? Uh, yeah.
Yep.
Or, you know, where love and hate cannot be separated from each other. You know, that's funny. That's funny, you know, because this is when you really need to be aware. If you're designed to hate what you love, like I am, and like, I mean, anybody emotional really is, you know, particularly if their solar plexus is designed by one of the love gates, right? So you have the 55. Now that's love and that's hate, you know, and then combined with the 59, phew, that's powerful love and powerful hate, you know, that's powerful union and powerful separation. What are you, a 2, 4?
Mhm.
That's heaven and that's hell. Yeah. Then again, you know, there is the 10 there. So, and of course, the 10 is the bridge between mundane and anti-mundane love. So that should be the place of balance, you know, where love and hate, they bring you to you.
Mm.
I was thinking about this today, how, you know, people trigger us and we react and we think that how we react says something about them, you know,
Mm.
and it doesn't. It says everything about us.
Yep.
And once you know that what you love and what you hate says everything about you, you know, then you're good. And you're like a volcano of love and hate that that knows when to erupt
Mm.
as, you know, I guess you could call it poetical and self-empowering expression. You know, a poetical way of expressing the spirit of love and the spirit of truth. I guess with spirit, I mean a truth that you can't agree or disagree with, you know, and a love that you can do nothing against, you know. Uh, yeah, yeah, powerful configuration. Funny though, to have all of this unconscious and that the only conscious gate is 30. Is 30.
Right?
Because I can already see how the 30 misleads you
Mhm.
and makes you use all your emotional system the way the 1156 would like it to go.
Yeah,
You
that's
know,
where waiting has become very important.
because if you don't do that, then you're really bad. Then the evil in you, then you can be so bad that it scares you,
Hmm.
in well, whatever, not just the mercilessness, the craziness of how far can you go
Yeah.
with your sense of love. I mean, this is a radical, a design of passion. This is a design of, you know, it ain't enough until it's crazy.
Yeah.
So, it ain't enough until it's too much. So,
I don't think I would have found human design if my relationships hadn't become a complete shit show in my life. And just all the drama, and it became to a point where I couldn't handle myself. And then one thing led to another, and I stumbled across human design, and then everything made sense as far as even just understanding my emotional wave. But
exactly. And you make a wonderful point here, Teresa, because you see, my doubts that I was addressing earlier, it's like when I look at my body graph, I could be this guy, but
mhm.
this guy has been so many different things in a lifetime that, I could be making it all up. But if I look at my relationships, oh, that's another story. That's not made up.
Uh-huh.
And if I put my partner's design in combination with mine, wow, the story I see there is not a made up one. It
Nope.
explains what actually happened. It explains what I feel. It explains both the glory of my love and the misery of it. It explains everything in ways. So, yeah, of course. Of course.
Mm.
Yeah.
Let's look at
Yeah.
Brandy's because now I'm getting shy. So much attention on me.
Well, you can see why you guys are really such a good match.
Mm. What do you see?
Well, the 38 and the 39.
Yeah. We love and hate together.
Not
Just
only
kidding.
that, the drive for, you know, such a crazy drive for love and truth
Yeah.
that it gets funny. I mean, it gets between worrisome and very funny because there is nothing normal in the way, the 38 and the 39, when it comes to love and to truth, they take it further than anybody else. And in this, they take the loved ones and the people that apparently agree with them to edges where if the other one is not standing on their own feet, they collapse and you lose respect for them. This is about these are the roots of individuality, the roots of spirit and truth. I mean, this is about testing how much someone is loyal to themselves.
Mm.
It's not so much whether they're loyal to you. It's okay if they're not loyal to you, as long as they're loyal to themselves at least. And they have the courage to tell you. I mean, after all, the 28.5 is about betrayal. Betrayal is not that the other doesn't want what you want. Betrayal is that they keep it hidden. That they don't trust you to be able to handle the truth. That's belittling someone when you think that they're too small or too young for truth. Nobody is too young for truth. What we are sometimes is too young for bullshit. But the not self doesn't understand that, when children are too young for bullshit. If you start their education with bullshit, if bullshit is going to be the foundation, what are you going to do then? Put truth on bullshit? No, first you put truth, and then the bullshit comes on its own. So people with a 38, 39, they go crazy if bullshit is all they get. They need something real. Then again, what seems real to you and what not, that's another story. But you know that people who have that and define, they're going to struggle for it. They're going to provoke the hell out of others for it, helplessly. Like
We
I
always,
had, well, like I did.
yeah.
I was just not conscious of that I'm actually doing that.
We always joke this is the first friendship we've both had where we can handle each other. Like we can handle being
Uh-huh.
provoked by each other and not take it personally and get offended. And
Uh-huh,
we say we poke each other, and
uh-huh.
it's it just flows. And it's like we don't get mad at each other for provoking each other.
Well, and then of course, not just that, the 2750. So you both, as generators, carry the same kind of contradiction.
Yep.
You see, the 27 is a polarity to the 28, like the 59 is a polarity to the 55, which is your nodes.
Yeah.
Okay. So your personal relationship to truth, your personal relationship to love, then you also have the struggle and the integration channel. So, this is a very empowering connection. And, well, it's almost like one of you holds the keys to what the other needs to understand.
Wow.
I mean, in the sense that, you can give Brandy the emotional version of what she could mentally never figure out if you didn't tell her how crazy being emotional actually is.
Yeah.
She thinks splenic, which, crazy splenic can psychologically be more challenging than emotion. Okay. Because at some point, especially when the emotional system is as strong as it is in you or in me, you learn very quick that it's not a black and white thing for you. Okay. But splenic people, they cannot help but, looking at things in a very black and white way, like survival or not, I understand or not. It's like not much room to handle grace, the shades of gray. And the contradiction between the duty to care and the carelessness of the channel of struggle, can create a lot more psychological tension than, your contradictions about whether, the love you experience in intimacy is 100% pure or not, because in a way, being emotional, it's kind of okay if half of it is impure. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
If half of it is monkey love, well, that's the pleasure principle. So it comes with the package. It's not such a black and white thing. In other words, unless there is drama, it's all okay, And drama happens when it happens. Whereas the splenic person has a much more dry mind that avoids drama, and in avoiding drama locks itself up in this I should not, I should not, and it creates a lot more tension and probably less fun.
Mm-hmm.
Than the emotional person. Then again, this is a split definition. You are a single definition, and that is always more compact, more compact. There's more fragility in this design than in yours. Yeah, well, I don't mean to do an analysis. Let's
No, that was a treat.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you for that. We didn't expect that.
pleasure.
Yeah, what a lovely surprise.
Well, if you have anything specific that you don't understand about, why am I the way I am based on my design, you can point me at it. I just don't need to go looking for anything.
Yeah. I always like to just see what you see off the bat,
Yeah.
It's always interesting what you're pulled to in a chart.
Yeah, but without the focus on, all I can do is be broad.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, in our last episode, you had talked about at the end wanting to discuss pentas and was. I'm not designed for a penta.
No, you're not. Absolutely not.
Nope.
And neither is Teresa, if I remember well. Not at all.
Maybe also why we get along.
Well, Penta people, they kind of get along with everyone.
Yeah.
That's what makes them good and bad, Penta people. It's a problem when you get along with everyone, because it means everyone can make you waste a lot of time,
Yeah.
you know, um, and you're just there sharing an identity that can be very enslaving. This, instead of the desire to share, it can feel like I have to share my identity. I have to share my flow. I have to share my body, my presence. I have to show up. So yeah, yeah, Penta is a trap. And again, because I am Mr. Doubt. I've got doubt in my cross. I've got doubts in my notes. It's defined in my design to doubt, to doubt. It wasn't really, I always heard Ra, anytime he would look at a chart, it was, the not self, the not self, the not self, the not. And I was like, hell. I mean, everybody's not self. Nobody is the real self. Nobody could be lucky and kind of like, have nice parents. And I was naive. I was not, and I'm not Mr. Black. I was not the absolute. He was the absolute, and I was just a student of it. It wasn't until I met the Wa, because I met Penta, but I just had met Penta within the family, which was impressive. But I wasn't deep enough in the knowledge to be able to see something absolute within the Penta. So, and I did quite some work with families, which was very nice. So it went deeper each time. But it wasn't until I met the OC16, that I realized the unavoidability to be born human and not be layered with not self stuff in the first 7 years of life, not end up being domesticated in the first 7 years of life, emotionally domesticated. which is a civilizing process that, if your parents don't do this to you, then you do not know how to function in the world of normality, like a normal person. Okay, that would be bad news. Okay, but the thing is that the concern of the parents for you to know how to be a normal person normally tends to break the individual spirit. In other words, parents don't know how to educate their children in their uniqueness and trust that it is a matter of time until the children themselves, see, children are so driven to want to be normal, to not want to be a freak, to not be rejected, to not be okay. And of course, the first place where that is tested is parents, is parental conditioning, and we get the fears and the hopes and dreams that our parents carry in their spirit and that have not been properly integrated. We get that laid on us. In other words, they domesticate it the way they know it, the way they think being a father should be, the way. And we get domesticated so we fit into the penta. Or in other words, we submit to the roles and to the rules of penta. And then we go to school and we realize why our parents insisted on certain things, because when you go to school, you realize those things are important to know how to be a normal person, to know how to, do your duty. And it just, then you get more layers of wa consciousness laid on who you think you are, which is just a version of not self. Someone that fits into the homogenized world, someone ready to struggle for its place, So, and I saw in the the unavoidability of that, because I saw suddenly something I never knew how to explain. It was, for instance, here's my design. When I was, young, and I used to go to the disco or to a party or, a place where supposedly you go to have fun. Okay. And I would arrive there. And I remember the feeling of being literally crossed in, not knowing whether I should go around hugging everyone, if I should just wait and see, if I bump into anyone, do you know what I mean? It was, it was like different parts of me telling me, why don't you just go around and say hello? And, somebody, the other part telling me, how am I going to say hello to someone I don't know? I mean, they're going to think that, I want something from them or, totally kind of scattered, not knowing how to move. I mean, talk about being in the flow or not. I knew I'm not in the flow. I knew I was like, it was almost like, well, I had a bad time in many parties, and I never knew. There were days where I guess I was on a high wave. I would just get into the dance floor and kind of warm up, and then it was all okay. Okay. But so many times I would just get there and feel like I don't know how to behave, and feel these opposing parts, one that just wants to care for everyone, and, how it would judge my ego that would only look for those that I found interesting, So kind of like, so I was either too altruistic or I was too egoistic, but the one thing I was not was flowing, and balanced. And when I saw the Wa, when I understood the Wa, and I understood the power it has on my life force, oh, did I understand it? How my 36, 35, and my 64th 47 tuned into the 59-6 theme, you know? How the 58-18 and the 63-4 tuned into the 27-50. How the 38-28 tuned into something different, you know? How the 37-40, you know, just try to keep it all, you know, under control and, you know, just go to the bar and hold on to a glass at least, you know? Yeah, while you stand around there. And of course, on the outside, you look like a cool guy, you know, on the inside, you're just lost. I mean, lost. You don't even know why you're there. You know, as a matter of fact, if you think about why you're there, you want to go home. You just go like, because it's not nice. It's not nice. It's mundane. It's so mundane. And you don't know why you feel that way. Just stuck with, you know, between different shadows, actually, because it's not like there was a way for me to say, oh, I'm more this one and not. No, it wasn't a black and white. It was just funny feelings inside and the echoes of those funny feelings in my consciousness, and the feeling that if I just leave the place, it's not going to hurt. It's okay, which is what happened most of the times. I would just go and then it's okay. It wasn't my body. It doesn't matter anymore. You know, the moment I'm out of the wa, it's okay. You know, it fades away and then I'm just me back in life, you know. And I mean, I'm talking about times where I didn't know human design. You know, I was just driven by sensations, feelings, you know. And I moved in, well, I can see it now intuitively, you know, but never, you know, there was always pressure to keep moving, keep going, you know, get into the next, you know, don't give up. Don't give up. I mean, you know, so that's me. 1-3, you know, approach, retreat, try again, you know, and I never give up. I kept trying, you know, no matter how painful and dramatic and disappointment it would go, there was something to learn, you know. I mean, you just keep trying. And of course, when I met human design, that changed everything because at least I knew what I was trying. Mm. You know, I knew I was trying something that was between me, and others were just fuel to trigger, you know, the best version of me or, well, the not so nice version of me. And I mean, from the moment I knew that Ra was still alive, I turned that into a new focus. You know, I don't teach Penta when I teach ABC or rave cartography, but I warn about it. I warn against it. I make a mention of it. You know, I even give my students an introductory lecture so that they have the minimum information necessary to know that a Penta channel is not just another channel, that it deserves this consideration of, you know, having this multidimensional psychology, you know, the psychology of an individual, the psychology of someone that knows how to interact on one-on-one basis, but also the psychology of someone that knows how to think for everyone, knows how to think in plural terms, in we terms, you know, and someone that often slips from the we to the I, not clearly seeing the difference. Actually, as not self, all they want is to eliminate the difference. Because as not self, the more the I and the we is the same, the more functional your idea of how things should be seems to be.
Yeah.
You know, the more everyone follows your thinking, the better for the not self, you know? When you're the alpha and nobody resists. It's perfect, right? You know? It's just that those things don't happen unless it's based on power. You know, if the people have no choice but following you and shut up, then they will. But if there is no power and if they don't need you, they're not going to follow you unless they share understanding. And yeah, you know, the roles and rules of Penta, they transform our value system. Not only they transform our value system, something happens in the flow of consciousness. You know, not just the things we talk about, but how we talk about whatever we talk about shifts completely when we go from one-on-one to three or more people. You know, there is an instantaneous increased density in the flow of consciousness that makes it weird for anyone to speak about anything that is not mundane, unless it's three members of the same religion or the same sect, or, you know, people who believe in the same God. And then you could also go into shared metaphysics. Okay. But just casually, you know, there is no reason for we that is not material, you know? Whereas between you and I, the most important things can be absolutely immaterial, like love and truth. You know, the moment, see, but one-on-one, and you guys should really know that, love and truth is real, unavoidable. You know, it's love or it's hate. You can't be neutral, you know, if you're emotional at least. But the moment there is three, both love and truth becomes at least a formality. And behind that formality, there is duty. And the moment love is a duty, you're fucked. It's when, you know, it's when it starts, in my taste, it starts tasting like shit. You know, it's supposedly it's love, but it feels like shit precisely because it's supposed to be love and it's not. You have to swallow something you would never swallow with pleasure. It can't be love. That you have to swallow a truth for that love to go. I can't. It's disempowering. You know, when love is disempowering, when love is humiliating, when love is regretful. So that's what happens the moment there is three, the moment there is penta. Truth is a dogma, and love is duty. And that happens without us even being conscious of it, because all we feel is that we're being civil. We're being civil, we're being educated. You know, that we don't put the emphasis on us when, you know, when there is three or more people. You know, we don't talk about our inner, the innerst of our truths, or, you know, no, one-on-one is okay. The moment there is three, it's weird. It's like having sex in front of a third person.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
we don't naturally, we disconnect from that level of intensity and we move on to a level where, you know, it's what's called the comfort zone of normality. You know, you're normal, you're civilized, you're a good person, you're kind. You know, it's where everyone shows the best face of their profile. You know, even an authoritarian like me shuts up. You look at the first line profiles in Penta, most of the time they're shut up. Because when they're not shut up, they scare the shit out of everyone with their authoritarianism, you know? So, and of course, I watched that. It's not just that it makes sense or it's like, I watched that.
Mm-hmm.
Personality, sun is there.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I just watched that, how we start being, I don't like to call it fake, but fake is what it is.
Huh. Yeah.
I mean, if you compare it to what it would be being authentic, but it's like, you know, when there is three or more, being authentic or not isn't even the point.
Mm. Right.
Isn't even the point. Our value system is no longer ours. You
Uh,
understand? Being normal is the point. And
uh,
it's okay. See, when I move into Penta, I try to behave as normal as I can, but I'm conscious of it.
yeah.
I'm just going along with the circumstance. I used to get stuck in it. I used to look for my truth in it. I used to look for my peace in it. Used to look for real love in it. I don't anymore. I don't anymore. So I have love, less friends and less love, if you want to quantify it. But the quality of it that I experience when I meet the people that I meet, hey, that makes up for everything,
Mm.
you know, where love and truth is felt, not so much spoken about, you know, not so much theorized about, where relationships actually work. And we don't get together just to share the dysfunction of our relation, you know, the chat that goes on in Penta on free time, because, you know, Penta on working time or in the domestic house, you know, at home, Penta at home, duty, you know, anytime anybody can tell you, you know, something you didn't do that you should have done. No. You know, how everyone's policing everyone. I mean, it's just amazing.
Mm.
And it's not, we feel bad for this, but it's what Penta does to us.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I mean, others do that to you. You want to be the only dumb one? You know, it's Penta that imposes that materialistic perspective on us. And it's Penta because Penta needs to serve the Wa. Pentas need to be successful in the Wa. You know, it's just a need. Like you need to pay the rent, like you need to pay, you know, it's a need. It's not like you have any choice about it. It's a program. That's why there's no awareness in Penta. The awareness comes from the Wa in the form of legal laws in the 50 and all sorts of moral laws in the 59.6. You know, the laws of sex, which are also the laws of Eden. After all, the 636. This is for me the core polarity of the not just the human condition, but the evolution of the human condition. For me, is fueled between the 6 and the 36. You know, in a way, the transition, when we speak about the transition from 7-centered to 9-centered, okay, the way I see it is that as long as we were 7-centered, 6 gate was dominating the way human beings dealt with emotions. You know, union and harmony above everything. You know, even if you're frustrated, we put up with each other. Okay, but divorce is not an option. Divorce is, it would, you know, it would make you the 36, the bad person, disloyal, you know, I mean, bad, too independent, too egoistic, too, you know, not human, really, a beast, an animal without any human values. Now, the 9-centered potential takes the focus of our emotional life to initiation, no longer to duality. You know what we were saying earlier, that what we feel says more about us than whoever seems to be the trigger for the feelings. Okay. Not only that, the recognition that we can have all kinds of feelings and doesn't have to have anything to do with anyone in particular. You know, feelings you could share with this one or with that one. You know, that there would be a difference maybe in the nuance, but, you know, feelings are drives. You know, when you look at mechanics of sexuality, the emotional system is sexual drive, which translate as social drive. I mean, and there you really see the function of the social channels, you know, how they are designed to regulate sex, you know, and make sure that human life doesn't become a permanent orgy. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So, but since 1781, the power of Gate 6, you know, to protect us from our own freedom, sexual freedom, you know, opened up a completely new range to live out our sexual experience, discover a total new range of feelings where sex is no longer the same. The feelings derived from sex are no longer the same. Family, the most transcendent consequence of sex, is no longer the same. Because, you know, there is no God. You know, the pillars of that irrational morality, remember, you know, Gate 49, the principles of the tribe, the romantic spirit, the yearnings of all of that was fueled through Gate 6. We still say, I have feelings for you.
Mm-hmm.
Like, what? You know, I mean, I have feelings for you. Well, so I got my own feelings. So keep them to yourself, right? I have feelings for you. But we never really knew what feelings are. They're an expression of desire, but not the desire in the energy. The desire in the spirit, the 41. That everything we feel says something about our spirit. So that there is an incredible potential for feelings to become fuel for maturation, for individual experience, for differentiation, a differentiated life experience. Okay? In other words, yeah, the being unique movie that human design offers. But before you get to enjoy that, you have to chew through all the layers of conditioning, the Wa layers of conditioning, the Penta layers of conditioning, the collective layers of your open centers, the individual layers of your open centers, the tribal layers of your open centers. Because in the end, alignment, what does alignment mean? Look at my design. I am fixed about my perception of the desire to share. I'm fixed about my indecisiveness about empowering, knowing, and not. And I'm fixed about my perception of the need to support and be supported. Not just, I'm fixed and split in three. You want to orchestrate that with your mind? How much need, how much desire, and how much indecisiveness is okay at any given time? You asked me before how my mind was. It was a mess. Because that's what it was trying to do. To figure out how much desire is okay, how much this need is okay, how much indecisiveness. It was never okay. Okay never lasted very long. You know?
Mm-hmm.
It's only now, with patience, it's okay to be indecisive. It's okay to feel the need to support. I don't have to rush. It's okay, the desire to, I don't have to rush. You know, it's all one being, and they all move together It's not like I have to leave my needs behind to enjoy my desires, and then in between I dedicate some time to my indesire. No, it's all me. It's all me, perfectly orchestrated through my peace, through my patience, you know, and they all move at once, or I have nowhere to go. Because I can't leave one of my channels behind, can I? You know? So through patience, I have no problem with sharing desire. I have no problem with needing to support and I have no problem with being indecisive. You know? I have a problem with blind need. I have a problem with blind desire and blind indesire, and disempowering indecisiveness. So I watch. I wait for the feeling where they come together. Depending on what the stakes are, it can take longer. The intensity of waiting can be more, can be less, depending on what the stakes are. But if patience wins, it's all okay. Even crisis is okay. Crisis is just, oh, I didn't know this. It's just, crisis is just going deeper into what I already knew.
Yeah.
Not something I need to avoid, not something I need to push, something that is unavoidable over time. So yeah, Penta and Wa, they really nailed it for me, that the world is not self and it cannot be anything else. It will always be not self as long as there are humans, because that's the way humans organized themselves from the beginning of time. They are organizational channels. They are an expression of our deepest sources of awareness, the 50 and the 6. And this is not intellectual awareness. This is awareness applied to action. This is how we did it before we knew it. Because we're an exploring species. We're always trying to go beyond what we already know. At the same time that we take advantage of what we know, we're already investing and, going to places and see what, we have a cross of prevention. It's all there. It's all there. We prevent through understanding. We enjoy through sensing. We invest through management. It's all there. It's the blood of humanity. The way the trucks move in and out of the cities every day, bringing the resources, the way they get distributed, the way people go to the shops, the way, it's an incredible machinery, the world. And we have no choice but moving in it. But to know how to move in it and not get trapped, not physiologically and not psychologically. Wow, that's being very, very, very lucky. Very lucky. I mean, if you meet human design, you're lucky already because a level of unburdening will be there. But to take it to ultimate liberation, which means you're no longer in charge of your thinking. You enjoy your thinking like you enjoy your breathing. Something that happens, not something you do, something you watch. You are the thinker. You are not the thinking. That is amazing. That is amazing because it's glorious, the potential of being fulfilled within oneself as a being, to understand the the drama of being born a human and the joke of being born a human. Maybe that's the nice part of my split, you see. On the surface in my throat, I can be so dramatic, but somehow my sense of humor, you can see it's deeper. At the root, I'm more humoristic than dramatic. In the now, I can't help but sometimes be overwhelmed by my feelings.
Yeah.
But I don't get stuck there. I've learned to not get stuck there. I've learned to let go of the shit, you know. Even shit needs to be fresh, you know. Yeah.
Damn.
Damn, is right.
And if you know the why, you see what they do to the human life force, then you understand why the cognitive distortion in our species went so deep that it is, from where I look at it, irreversible. There is no redemption for humanity collectively. Individually, yes, yes. Wisdom, individual wisdom can redeem us in embracing the drama and recognizing the joke. Because, I mean, we were going to die anyway. So, you know, it's okay if in the end it's all just a movie. It's okay. It really is not just okay. That's where the liberation is. That's where the liberation is, that none of it is real. If you incarnate, you get a movie. Now, if that movie is the only movie you get to know, don't worry, you're normal. So, you go around bitching and you know what to do. But something else is possible. I always knew something else is possible before human design. I guess that's why I went to India looking for it, and and to places and to strange people like Osho. But with human design, yeah, it's possible for everyone, and you don't have to leave home. That's amazing. I mean, that's amazing as a tool.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
Love that confirmation because my home is my favorite place to be.
Uh-huh. And I guess, everyone, one way or another, is using it, to relieve whatever ways their ignorance torments them.
Yeah.
But in Ra's words, to me, he was a messenger. The message is out, he said. So his job as a messenger was done. The teaching has failed, told me. And, I have pondered this sentence so many times, I have no idea. I mean, he was Mr. No Choice, and he had a third line mind entirely. How could it not fail, quote unquote? Because I don't think it failed. I don't think it failed. I think he probably underestimated the density of the not self in the human individual. I think he was not naive about the not self. I think I was more naive than he was, a lot more. But I think that he saw the density of the not self in the collective. How deep that actually was in most individuals. I think that was probably also a surprise to him to a certain extent. It was certainly for me to see how deep it goes in me. Okay. That, which is also what got me to see that it's not bad. The not self is not bad. It's not the enemy. it becomes the enemy when it rules.
Yeah.
But in itself, it isn't the enemy. It has important things to teach us about the diversity of being human.
Yeah.
But I think that if I had to resume why he would feel that the teaching failed is probably because the attention of the potential students was not placed where it should have been,
Mm.
in the absolute,
Mm.
in the mechanical absolute, and not, in the 61, not in the 62, the polarity of the 61.
Mm.
Not the detail, not the, you see, everyone has now a different opinion about what human design and what Ra said. And if he meant it, he was the first student of human design. He did an incredible job in setting a foundation, a map.
Yeah.
He told openly anybody could write their own Revi Ching once you know what it is,
Yeah.
because it's just mechanics, you know. It's the same 384 archetypes out of which humans were born since the beginning of time. It's a catalog,
Mm-hmm.
and you can only create a not self catalog. You can't create a catalog of uniqueness. So it was pretty obvious that, he was talking about the absolute. But it's what, humanity isn't ready for that. Humanity it's not meant to be differentiated. So, human design penetrating into the collective could only become what it was, what it has become, because otherwise it could only be a cult or a sect.
Mm.
And he sure didn't want it to be that,
No.
So it's out. And I have a sense that the people that benefit from it the most in their daily lives, that they're not the ones making noise out there. They're the
Mhm.
ones that realize the pointlessness of turning this into an opinion that you try to share with everyone on Facebook. Is like, really? But how else?
Yeah.
People like to share, so it's what happens. It's the world,
Yeah.
21st century. Let's see where it takes us all.
Mm. It's a fascinating movie, that's for sure.
It is. It is. Absolutely. It absolutely is.
I often wonder what Ra would think about social media and how human design is spreading around. My gosh, I really wonder what he would think.
I think he knew that was going to happen.
Yes,
Oh
yeah.
yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. He did. He did know. Of course he knew that that's why he told me this sentence.
Yeah.
Because that's what made it obvious to him. Um
Mm.
well, he enjoyed it in his way. He created this group where he invited mostly people who were studying with him,
Yeah.
opening up, I guess he was playing with the potential for outer authority. He encouraged me from the beginning to write a book, to have other voices, to prove that the system is transferable and that
Yeah.
someone else could explain it in a different way than him, using the same language, but a different consciousness, a different awareness. And yeah, it takes time. It takes time until you make the system, the body graph, yours, until it is alive in you as something that is absolute. Not something that you have lots of conclusions about, but every new chart I see, I learn because it's a new variation.
Yeah.
There is a nuance. There is no. I learned because every design is a unique everything. So the same gate doesn't have the same value in this chart or in that chart. Is it activated by Mercury or is it an aspect of the cross of life? Um, you know, where knowledge is not power, where you meet someone's design and you don't lay a trip on them. You realize, okay, this is a new version
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
generator, you know. So you don't go with the cliches of generators, even though, it's normal to use them during analysis, but there is a different being there, different cross, different profile, different personality, sun, earth. And they all are an expression of the same fundamental helplessness of being a personality that cannot be anything other than a passenger to the vehicle or a disturbance.
Mm.
I mean, the two ways in which I mentioned earlier that the mind is going to think. It is going to think in surrender, in alignment to the signature, or it is going to think in resistance to the vehicle, fueling the distortion. And that is something that is absolute. At any given time, your mind is doing one or the other. And when you see that, you don't even have to know the name of what your motivation is, because the transference is what's fueling the shadow, and when the transference is not fueling the shadow, your personality is aligned and you don't even need to know what the name is of the motivation because your mind is going to have the right engine behind your true spirit, your spirit in peace projecting itself through your mind, or your frustrated spirit projecting itself through your mind.
Mm-hmm.
Because the spirit cannot help but project itself through the mind, like it does through the body as well, But the way it does it through the body, we're not so aware of. I mean, I was just writing about this, with my design, the unconscious. I had no idea that my body was doing this while I was just lost in my thinking. I had no idea. I just saw the reactions of people to it.
Mm.
Yeah.
You just
Well,
blew
I
my
remember,
mind.
Like, I have no words.
I remember that when we met last time, the ambiente was a bit chattier
Yeah.
than
Oh yeah.
today.
Yeah.
But well, it doesn't have to mean that it was better. I enjoyed
Yeah.
this
Yeah.
this time with you. So
We've
And
also had 2 more years of deconditioning since then.
how long have you been in design, each of you now?
Um, I'll be going in my 5th year. She'll be going in her 7th.
like I'm barely scratching the surface.
Mm-hmm. Just
Yeah,
when I think, and then nope.
Yeah, like I feel like I'm kind of just
but
now starting to
there,
meet myself.
Mm-hmm.
there is no end to it.
Yeah.
There is no end to it because you keep, your consciousness keeps expanding, your understanding keeps going deeper.
Mhm. I
You
mean,
know,
you'd be
your
dead if that wasn't the case, right? What's the
your de-
point otherwise?
your detachment from false certainties or even the desire for certainty,
Yeah.
you know, clarity's got nothing to do with certainty, the sense of something being correct for you or not, it's got nothing to do with certainty.
Mhm.
You know, it's got to do with value, with a sense of purpose or not.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, for me, it's not it's not a mental process, you know. I mean, it's not a
Mhm.
mental process. Even in the waiting, it's not, you know, I watch it my mind and I see what confuses my mind,
Mm.
Mhm.
you know, but it doesn't do anything to me because I just know it's not now.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I know that I don't know, and it's okay. I know I will know, you know, and I know that until I know, I'm not going to do anything.
Right.
I mean, it depends, you know, when it comes to decisions that I know is going to be that there's no return from there. Well, I kind of breathe into it, you know. It's like,
Mhm.
yeah, it's almost romancing the decision to swallow me up or push me back, push
Yeah.
me away. You know,
That's
it's
exactly how
not
it feels.
it's not a choice. I already know, you know, if I had a choice, it would drive me crazy.
Oh yeah.
But I know I don't. So I trust that there's a moment where the coin will drop, and I know,
Yep.
you know, and I will not know if the decision is right or wrong. I know this will be my decision. It will
Yep.
be the one that I trust, you know, and most likely it'll be a mistake. I'm a 1-3, okay, but it'll be my mistake.
Yep.
Mm.
It'll be the mistake I'm ready to make.
Yep.
And because it'll be the mistake I'm ready to make, it'll be the mistake I'm ready to learn from.
Mm.
And so it just gets better and better. And you understand, in other words, there is no mistake.
Yeah.
There is just learning the hard way or learning my way,
Mm.
you know? And it's wonderful. I mean, it's not ideal, but compared to what my decision making process used to be like,
Breezy.
and, and compared to what my relationship to myself was through the agency of my mind. Wow,
Mm.
you know,
Yeah.
it's so
Mhm.
nice to have a mind that does not command you, to have a mind that is actually your friend,
Mm.
Mm.
you know? And when I say it's your friend, it does not mean it believes blindly. It's just the mind. It's just the mind. It's just an inner echo of my spirit,
Mhm.
you know? I hear in my mind what bothers my spirit, yeah,
Yeah.
I
it's
love that.
beautiful because it's what it's meant to be. That's why we have a channel of awareness up there. You know, where thinking is not a destruction, but actually something that fuels self-realization.
Mm.
And that can come out of surrendering to the absolute of the form. That is absolutely mind-blowing.
Mhm.
You know, that there is such potential in the human mind. It has to be educated properly. You know, the spirit has to be respected in the first 7 years of life, because if that doesn't happen, then you get what I got, you know. I needed 21 years of deconditioning. Not just, I mean, you know, maybe the first 7 years were the deconditioning in the sense of knowing where my conditioning comes from.
Mm.
But that's just the beginning. Then letting go of your attachment to it.
Yeah. Because the point isn't to
Mhm.
get rid of the conditioning, it's just to be aware of it.
Exactly. Well, it's
Yeah.
get rid of the conditioning, but not getting rid of love, in my
Yeah.
case.
Yeah.
Mhm.
You know, you want to get rid of the toxicity of love,
Yeah.
but you don't want to get rid of love because, you know, what kind of life would that be?
Not a
So
life I'd
until,
want to be living. I tell
Nope.
you that.
say again, Teresa?
I said, not a life I'd want to be living.
No. But then until you find that not just the balance, but what makes you lose it? after you have found it.
Right.
Again and again and again. Why do you lose it again? Do you lose it or are you giving it up?
Mm.
Do you lose it or do you not care enough? Um, I mean, how could you not lose it? Is there a way that you could not lose it? Or is your self-esteem always going to depend on someone else's love?
Mm.
You know? I mean, when is my peace not going to depend on whether other people do this or do that for me? And well, until I did not see how my attachment to that was stronger than my trust that there's always going to be love. I don't need to hold on to love. That there's always going to be someone to love, you know, if it's about my own love. As a matter of fact, to realize I'm a rather loving guy. I love humanity. I just don't need to go around showing everyone how nice I am
Mm.
because of that. I don't think I'm especially nice because I love humanity. You know what I mean? It's
Yeah.
just the realization that love doesn't necessarily have much to do with relationships.
Mm.
If you look at the four gates of love and you see only one of them has got something to do with relationships, and then you see it's the one that's the love of the body. So you can really see which part of you is important in the relationships.
Mm.
You just show up as a body,
Sh-
you know, because the
Uh-huh.
rest is between you and life.
Mhm.
The rest of love is between you and you. The rest of love is between you and being human. It's not about loving humanity. It's about loving being human,
Mm.
loving your humanity, your human sensitivity, your human desires, your human indecisiveness, your human needs, of which everyone else is just a mirror. And well, Rob warned me in the beginning, 36, 35 is all about self-mastery, and self-mastery is not a one-day thing. I still watch, how much silliness not just moves through my mind, but on occasion, I can't help it but act some of it out. Stupid before, stupid after. I mean, knowledge is not power. You don't overcome the human condition just because you know what it is made of.
Yeah.
And that's something that for me certifies the truth of the human design system, you know? But when it gives you the best of it, you never knew so well how human you actually are.
Mm.
That what you know about your true self doesn't put you above anyone. It's good enough to not put yourself below anyone either, you know.
Mm.
And that's an incredible gift, to know a truth that no one needs to agree to.
Mm.
To love stuff that you don't need to go out and tell. Just feeling it and loving it is good enough, you know? Yeah. Yeah, I never knew I'm such a nice guy.
Oh man. The resonance of your voice really scratches an itch for me.
Same.
I gotta say,
Same.
I'm a bit melancholic today, and it was like your voice was just what I needed to hear.
Medicine.
Yeah, it was lovely.
Thank you so much for
Mm.
coming on today.
Yeah, we really appreciate you giving us a transmission and hanging out, sharing your wisdom.
Yeah, I wish I could share the depth of my silence and sense of awe
Mm.
because that's really what I'm left with after each interaction.
Yeah.
Thank you guys for this quality time. It's been a pleasure.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Jolly flow to you both.
Jolly flow.
Jolly flow.